So I'm Geraldine Lavin, and I'm an herbalist and farmer. We're at SunTrap Farm, which is where my partner and I have had our land-based businesses growing since October 2018. We're in our second growing season. It's really exciting. I basically use less than an acre to supply my apothecary business. The type of herb farming I do is value added. So I grow my own herbs and then take them to a commercial kitchen and process them, versus there are certainly herb farmers who just concentrate on growing bulk fresh herbs and then distribute those herbs to herbalists who work in an apothecary. I've kind of married both of those tasks. Yeah, I've been interested in herbalism my whole life, honestly. We grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia with a big garden. But then after high school, I got really interested in gardening again and saved up a little dough and moved to Hawaii for a year. And there I studied permaculture and got a good gardening job, learned propagation a bit, and met my first herbal mentor. When I moved back to Philadelphia, I moved back to West Philadelphia and started making community gardens there. And growing vegetables for sure, but also focusing on herbs and beginning to experiment with my own little practice. Yeah, since then I've managed an herb farm in the Hudson Valley and then started our own farm here in Ithaca. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a few things in the garden. We have a distillation going right now. This is a steam distillation as opposed to a hydro distillation. That means that we have the column packed with herbs and we're bringing this pot full of spring water to a boil. So the boiling water, the steam goes through the herbs, through the hat and through the neck, hits the condenser coil and turns into a hydrosol, which then I can use in beauty care products. So just straight as a toner or part of lotions. So it's a really nice way to add value to some of our products. Right now I have a huge abundance of wild rose in the meadows. You might be familiar with multiflora rose. It grows all over the upstate New York region and elsewhere, all over the country actually. And we also have yarrow at peak bloom right now. So we mix together yarrow and rose in the column, and we're gonna get some beautiful hydrosol as soon as this really starts coming to a rolling boil. Here we have the hydrosol dripping. Oh my goodness, you see that blue color? That is the azulene, I believe, in the yarrow. So that is an essential oil or a compound in the essential oil that produces a really beautiful blue hue. It's also found in chamomile. Gorgeous. So here we have California poppy growing. This is one of my favorite plants to grow, mostly because it's so beautiful, and also because when I harvest it to make medicine, I harvest the roots as well as the aerial parts, the leaf and flower, and I tincture the whole thing, meaning I extract the whole thing into alcohol. As a vegetable farmer, you wake up really early and make your harvest before the sun is high. You know, you really want to get all the greens like cold immediately, all of that. Whereas if I'm making a typical harvest of flowers and leaves on the herb farm, I wait until the sun gets high and then I harvest because I want them to be perfectly dry, sun shining, volatile oils, strongest, peak harvest. So it is like a different ball game. There's also a lot less pest pressure when it comes to herbs, which is interesting. You know, with vegetable farming, I've done, fertilization, always like going through manually picking off beetles, that sort of thing. With herbs, they're so strong smelling that a lot of the pests that go for our veggies, our tender veggie crops, don't really go for our herb crops, which makes the job of being a farmer quite a bit easier. We have angelica here. We use the root of this plant, in digestive bitters. It's a nice warming aromatic root. This is elecampane, really important herb for lung support. It's going to grow taller than this and produce a beautiful yellow flower. The challenges of growing herbs. Well, I think the biggest challenge, like take vegetable farming for instance. The species that is kale, that's so many of them. It's broccoli, collards, and so on. So you have a lot of things that grow similarly. You learn about one, and there are nuances, but you kind of know the deal with a lot of the vegetables. With herbs, I'm growing so many different, wildly different plants that I need to know intricately different things about their harvest. Like I have I have plants in the mint family, I have plants in the mallow family, I have plants in the poppy family, Asteraceae, all different botanical families that require different knowledge for their upkeep. And also, I guess one of the big challenges is knowing when to harvest. So certain roots that I harvest can't be harvested until their second or third fall. So it's a lot of waiting time. Like I might seed, I seeded some elecampane last spring that I won't be harvesting until next fall. This is motherwort, Leonoris cardiaca, and it's one of our favorite plants to work with. We have a big row of it. It's wonderful for anxiety and nervous system support. So we grow quite a bit of it because that's what a lot of people need right now. Then I've received a lot of questions from people asking me, how did you start your farm? Or when I was in Philadelphia, how did you start this community garden? And I would always tell them, like, you just have to start it. You know, you can definitely do the research, do the background reading, check in with the community if they want a garden there. That's probably the most important thing. Check out the land if it should have a garden on it, if it's not contaminated. But as far as getting started, you really just, there's nothing to it but to do it.